7:03 a.m., we vanished. All of us. Every man, every woman, every child. No bodies. No explanation. Just silence. Our cities remain. Cars parked, engines warm. Computers still whirring, coffee still steaming on countertops, but not a single human breath anywhere. Trains stopped between nowhere and home. Doors open, waiting for footsteps that never come. Birds, watching a city that no longer breathes. Billboards, shining for no one. The world left mid-sentence, coffee steaming, screens glowing, but no hands to reach for them. The world doesn't panic. It inhales. For the first time in millennia, the earth belongs to everything else. Within 12 hours, power plants begin to fail. Natural gas turbines lose pressure. Nuclear reactors initiate emergency shutdowns. The electrical grid, once humanity's bloodstream, collapses. Without electricity, water pumps fail. In cities like New York, London, and Tokyo, underground systems fill with groundwater. Steel corrodes. Darkness rises. Modern veins of motion become tombs of water. Our homes remain untouched. Meals on tables, lights flickering, televisions hum static. Time pauses, waiting for someone who never returned. Without human hands to intervene, a single electrical short, a forgotten stove, a lightning strike is all it takes. Flames spread unchecked. Entire blocks disappear overnight. Industrial facilities begin to corrode. Toxic chemicals leak into rivers. Chlorine gas hisses from ruptured valves. The engineered world is bleeding. The world is intact, yet motionless. Streets lie frozen. Chairs await customers that never come. Not destroyed, just abandoned. Like a dream paused mid-sentence. Without people to close them, windows rattle. Curtains sway like ghosts. Dust settles on untouched memories. The silence deepens. The world exhales. Then movement, not from us, but from them. A deer steps onto concrete. A bird lands where no bird dared before. The edges of the wild begin to breathe again. In silence, roots awaken. Seeds carried by wind find the cracks in our empire. What we paved over, nature reclaims, one leaf at a time. Radios hum, white noise. No one left to speak. No one left to listen. The planet enters a new frequency, one beyond our voice. What was once ours, shelter, warmth, order, becomes theirs. Rats gnaw through wood. Birds build nests in ovens. Our engineered interiors turn into dens of biology. In the hushed cathedrals of industry, feathers replace fire. Conveyor belts rust, while pigeons roost on the iron spines of our ambition. Millions of pets wait, starve, wander. Some perish quietly. Others adapt, forming packs, rediscovering instincts. Domestication begins to unravel. Our absence amplifies the sky. Predatory birds, once pushed to the margins, reclaim their place. Skyscrapers become cliffs. Cities become breeding grounds. Concrete was never eternal. Grain, root, and rust conspire in silence. The world we poured, nailed, and bolted is now crumbling cell by cell. With no cold chains, no waste collection, organic matter turns rapidly. Flesh rots, fungus blooms, insects surge, triggering an invisible avalanche of biomass. Sewers, once silent custodians of civilization, collapse. Waste, backflows, stagnant water breeds disease. The hygiene of a species gone evaporates overnight. Without fire breaks, patrols, or intervention, heat becomes hunger. Lightning strikes dry branches, and fire consumes unchecked. Suburbs vanish without resistance. With dams and canals left unmanned, rivers return to memory. They flood what we paved. They twist, cut, reshape. What we forced straight, they make wild again. Seedlings push through concrete. Lawns become meadows. Driveways blur into moss. The forest is no longer at the edge. It is on the move. homes built for presence, not absence, begin to break. Roofs buckle under rain. Mold blooms in silence. Rooms collapse piece by piece. Steel rusts, concrete splits. Without maintenance, bridges, once icons of connection, fracture into monuments of gravity. Agriculture, humanity's oldest symbiosis, collapses. Crops die unharvested. Machinery rusts. Farms return to fallow ground, their rhythm lost to wind and root. Industry, once perpetual motion, halts. Assembly lines become sculpture. Steel skeletons echo with birdsong. Function becomes fossil. Green becomes architecture. Vines scale skyscrapers. Forests root in concrete. What we shaped into cities, the biosphere, reshapes into wilderness. With no fences left to fear, the apex returns. Wolves follow deer into suburbs. Predators reclaim their place, rewriting the food chain. With no roads to hold them back, roots climb upward. Vines claim what once stood still. The cautious return, ears high, hearts slow, into fields once fenced by us. Below, the tiny thrive. The soil swells with movement. Life multiplies in silence. But abundance draws attention, and eyes begin to watch. Patience takes form, a body coiled, a silence sharpened. One breath ends, another continues. This is balance, not mercy. Above, wings fold on instinct. A shadow falls, and the ground gives up another. Species once suppressed emerge again. Biodiversity swells, then stumbles. Some take more. Some vanish again. But slowly, new equilibriums take shape. Carbon emissions plummet. Skies clear. Rainfall patterns shift. Nature begins rebalancing without our exhaust. Cities no longer belong to humans. They become ecosystems, half jungle, half ruin. Nature thrives not despite our concrete, but through it. One year, 12 full cycles without us. Not healed, but recovering. Not balanced, but breathing. Earth is not mourning. It is reorganizing. By year 2, sidewalks vanish beneath wildflowers. Lawn grass gives way to native growth. Nature doesn't restore the old. It builds new, root by root. Without fences or firecrackers, apex predators walk through our monuments. Temples echo not with prayer, but with paw steps. Some plants don't wait their turn. Kudzu, mile a minute, and water hyacinth smother the void. Their roots don't rebuild, they overwhelm. Time moves differently now. Without lawnmowers, harvesters, holidays, only rain, bloom, heat, decay. The house forgets its calendar. At the cellular frontier, fungi and bacteria feast on legacy. Basements become biolabs. The smallest inherit the most. With no highways, fences, or headlights, ancient migration corridors reawaken. From Poland to Mongolia, animals walk old paths, uninterrupted. Invasives surge, then stall. Without gardeners or chemicals, nature counters excess with fire, flood, and fang. Balance is brutal, but it returns. Where once we terraced, time and pine return. The Mediterranean forgets cultivation and remembers fire, rock, and wind. In deserts once declared dead, life waits below. A single rain awakens seeds centuries old. The bloom lasts days, but rewrites years. Species adapt, interact, evolve. New food webs emerge, not perfect, but possible. Without us, the network regrows, wild, unstable, alive. We left behind echoes, plastic, paper, digital ghosts. But the walls crumble and the archives mold. The earth begins to forget. Homes rot faster than memory. After 10 years, only outlines remain. We built for comfort, not for time. Nature never signed the lease. Vanish without harvest. Farms dissolve into a mosaic of wilderness. The plow is undone. The field breathes freely again. No planes, no contrails, no schedules. The sky reclaims stillness. We are no longer written across the clouds. "10 years, long enough for roots to forget foundations and skies to forget noise. The earth doesn't look like it used to. It never truly did." Steel was our pride. Concrete was our permanence, but oxygen and rain are patient sculptors. Half a century is enough for towers to become fossils. Architecture held form, but roots remember function. Walls become trunks, ceilings become canopies. Life redesigns space with chlorophyll. Beneath the ruins, an empire expands. Microbial colonies, invisible cities, recycle wood, stone, bone. Our remains fuel their bloom. Once bred to obey, they now lead themselves. Dogs without names, descendants of memory, haunt the edges of what we left behind. Forests erase design, but patterns linger. Geometry haunts the canopy. What was once grid is now grove. Here, empires marched. Legions and parades crossed these stones, claiming history in marble and shadow. Now grass grows between the columns. The horses atop the gate still face forward, but there's nothing left to meet them. Here, the world once held its breath. Flags rose, flags fell, names changed, but the bricks remained. Now, birch trees grow where banners flew, and silence, not anthems, guards the walls. Here, ideas were carved in stone, monuments to men and meaning. But no one reads them now. The pool reflects only clouds. Marble is soft to root and rain. And democracy, like granite, erodes. Here, souls rose on spires, 1,000 years of prayer stacked in flying buttresses. Now, ivy reaches for what the faithful once did. The bells are silent, but the vines sing. Here, time was measured. Big Ben spoke for a nation. Now the hands are still. Parliament crumbles by the river. Laws undone, not by vote, but by rust. Here, eternity had an address. Pilgrims crossed stone arcs to kneel. Now, weeds crack the plaza. A statue leans, and the dome, once pointing to heaven, now echoes with pigeons. Landmarks once meant memory. Now, they mean nothing. The planet no longer knows where we gathered or why we named it Center. Dams fail without vigilance. Water remembers old paths. It floods foundations, buries ruins, and gives birth to wetlands where walls once stood. Without soot, heat, and fuel, ice breathes again. In the Alps, In the Rockies, glaciers pause their retreat, if only for a time. Where cattle once grazed, canopy returns. No more fences, only flight, root, mist. Rainforest reclaims the scar. Africa redraws herself. No ranchers, no roads, no fences, just migration, instinct, and sky. Nature unmaps the map. Without noise, nets, or oil, the oceans begin to sing again. Shipwrecks bloom with coral. Extinctions reverse. The silence is filled with gills and song. What was once ordered becomes intricate. Life stacks itself. Root over root, feather over claw. No prune, only density. What remains of us doesn't speak. Silicon erodes. Plastic crumbles. Our stories nest birds now. We remain in sediment, not in cathedrals, not in names, just a layer marked by carbon, plastic, and absence. 100 years, the earth no longer remembers us, but she doesn't grieve. She sings, and her voice, for the first time in ages, is uninterrupted. By year 200, what stood tallest collapses. Iron returns to ore. We built for skyline, but time writes only at ground level. Stories rot. Paper yields to root. Ink to spore. No one reads. but the soil remembers every fiber. The indestructible fades. Plastics crumble, but not into nothing, into fragments small enough to become geology. The planet has no need for names. Borders have bled. Capitals are canopies. The wild no longer follows our map. It has drawn its own. Metal was our last defiance. Even that bends. What was once symbol is now perch. Sanctuary, meant to echo prayers, now carries only wind. No roof, no rights, only the quiet root. Language outlasted breath, but not rain. What once explained the world is now shapes in stone, illegible to every living thing. Predators stabilize, pollinators thrive, mycelial networks beneath feed forests above. The web is woven without a single human hand. We recorded everything, but playback requires memory. And the earth has none, only objects, no context. "1,000 years, no walls, no words, no memory, just sky, soil, and sentience, not ours, but the earth remains." The city that never slept now breathes in green silence, from stock ticker to root system, from billboard to birdsong. New York is no longer skyline, it is canopy. Where heat once climbed, cold has returned. The mountains breathe again, with ice, with river, with a memory older than civilization. Even the desert remembers water. 1,000 years without our thirst, and green returns. The Sahara is not dead. It was waiting. Bleached to death, then left alone. Now, coral builds again, coloring the silence with life. The sea heals in centuries, not policy. This planet once bore stories. Now it bears rhythm. It is not ours. It never was. It simply had to survive us, and it did. Here once stood New York. Now only photosynthesis speaks. Even gravity forgot the skyline. Time did not bury the city. It reforested it. The pole has no compass now. Ice turned to water. Cold turned to wind. A new biome breathes where once the earth froze. Even the holiest stone crumbles, but life bows to no altar, only to light. The forest does not pray, it returns. The final frontier is not Mars, it's the South. Ice gave way, and in the silence, a new genesis took root. Suspension was our metaphor, but gravity never forgets. The ocean took the gate and never gave it back. Walls divide minds, but mountains unite roots. The Great Wall stood against armies, but not against rain. We sought the particle of God, but in time, our machines fed moss. The search did not end. It was absorbed. We built glass in the desert to defy its truth. But dunes always reclaim. They do not fight. They wait. This dam helped me. The empire's clock stopped ticking. The river rose. Now it speaks not time, but tide. The symbol of elegance became ash and soil, and in its shadow, roots danced. Snow buried the state, and roots climbed the cross. Moscow dreams beneath the frost and does not wake. The neon faded, the towers sighed and fell. Tokyo became rainforest, pixel to petal. The last stone carvings fracture. We engineered for centuries, but granite has limits. The wind is more patient than we ever were. Plastic, our miracle, becomes memory. Not as monument, but as molecule. Forever detectable, never recognizable. DNA, the script of life, has a half-life. Ours fades, unrecorded. Within 100,000 years, not even the instructions remain. Continents crack, mountains rise, seas reclaim valleys. The blueprint of Earth reshapes and redraws without consulting us. Million years, the mammals are gone. The forests are memory. But beneath the crust, life continues, microscopic, silent, perfect. And now the earth is still blue, still spinning. But no one speaks, no one builds, no one remembers. This was not the end. It was reorganization. Life never left. It simply filled the silence we never imagined we'd leave behind.
We'll be running with the